It's too big. It's too big, guys. Stop it. Just stop it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so before we get into today's video, once again, I'd love it if you guys would subscribe to me. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It's so easy to do. Just go ahead, hit it for me. Loads of you did on my other video, and I really appreciate it, so thank you. So today's video is gonna be obviously about property. Well, not obviously, but it's about property. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, because I had a conversation with a friend of mine recently, and we were talking about building, the construction process here, what it's like, challenges, the great things about it. We're talking all things building, and I thought it'd be really great to bring this topic to the camera. So today, what we're going to talk about is why you're building so big. Why does your house have to be so big? I am also guilty of it. Like, why are we building houses that are so huge that we now struggle to finish it? I don't understand why. I mean, it's getting crazy out of hand. Like, a lot of us, I think, okay, for me personally, right? When we started building this house, I didn't know that it was going to be so big. To be honest with you, I wasn't really in that planning process of it. So I didn't know. So for me, I thought it was going to be like, we were going to have the apartments at the bottom. Well, they weren't apartments. Yeah, they were apartments. They were going to be there was going to be an apartment at the bottom, and then we were going to live upstairs, right? 2 floors. But then, somebody wanted to do an extra floor, which I've now scrapped, so that's not happening. But the house is actually huge. So for me personally, my house is 4 bedrooms on 1 floor that we're in at the moment, that we're living in like an apartment because it's only 1 floor. But then there are another 3 rooms upstairs. One's going to be a studio, and the other 2 are bedrooms, right? So you've got the primary bedroom, and then you have a spare bedroom. Now, the house is massive. That makes it a 4, 5, 6... 7-bedroom house technically, right? That's huge. I've literally just come from the UK where I was living in a 4-bedroom house, and the 4th bedroom was like a broom cupboard. It was tiny. It was absolutely tiny. You couldn't put a full-size bed in there and be very comfortable and have space to move around. It was tiny. So really, it was like a 3.5-bedroom house, right? But we were happy. And I mean, we come to Ghana, and then I understand that sometimes we want things a little bit bigger. We want to have space, especially when you've come from, touch me here, touch me there, like you can literally stretch your hands across and touch both sides of the wall. But when we come here, sometimes I think we overdo it, and we take on too much, more than we can chew. So as I was speaking to my friend, we were both like, you know what? I wish I'd built my house a bit smaller, because actually I don't need that much space. And you know what? I was like, you know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. Like, the money that we have invested into putting into our houses, it's like you could build something similar and make it smaller and have all the things that you want in there, right? So make it like really, really high class inside the house. But actually, you didn't need 7 bedrooms. 4 would have been perfectly good for you. But we've decided to come and inflate the situation and make things way bigger than what it is. And I think sometimes we don't think these things through, because we come with grand plans. We want to show the things that we have. So something that Portia said, if you watch my last interview with Portia, something that she said was very, very interesting, and you should take note of that. She said, when people often from the diaspora come to Ghana, we want to live a privileged life, right? So we want to do things much bigger. So while you were happy eating McDonald's in the UK, you come to Ghana and certain things now are not good enough for you. Now, I'm saying that in terms of food there, right? Because that's what she said. But we're doing actually the same thing when it comes to building. So when we come here and we build, we want everything to be absolutely lavish. But actually, it's way beyond our budget. We don't actually have the funds to do this. And so although we're building slowly, it's taking us years and years sometimes to complete, because we've just gone overboard. We've gone overboard, and we haven't actually thought about it properly, And so I just want us to take a moment and think about it, because it's so true. Like, some of the houses that some of us have built, like, you hear people building 9-bedroom houses. I'm like, why do you need a 9-bedroom house when there's only 3 of you? It doesn't really make sense. Like, I understand sometimes, we have visitors and things like that. But really, do you need that many bedrooms? What is it for? And not only that, even after you've completed your house, right? You've done everything. You're settled. You don't have no more money to pay when it comes to building and all of that. But now we have to think about maintenance. Are you capable of maintaining this house? Because honestly, for me, even though we're living with just 4 bedrooms, everybody has my 4 children have their bedrooms. I don't have a bedroom right now. But even though we have our individuals, there is still a lot of maintenance that needs to be done. The more rooms you have, the more spaces there are, the more likelihood is that things are going to pop up and need maintenance. Do you have the capability of being able to sort those maintenance issues out? Because it's a lot. Even cleaning, I'm not joking. So I remember speaking to somebody, and they were living in this massive house, and they had so many bedrooms that were not being used. And can you guess what was happening in those bedrooms? Every time they'd go in there, there's dust, they'd find dead cockroaches, and the place had to be cleaned. And these were just extra bedrooms that were sitting there, and no one was using them. They just needed maintaining. Whoa, where did that come from? They just needed maintaining, and it's like we're putting this extra pressure on ourselves. I've seen it again, we have, me and my ex have a property in OUB that we're building a house, right? It's on 2 plots. Now, when that house was being built, I wasn't there for the process. I was pregnant at the time. It was a long time ago. The foundation was dug, and when the house, it seemed like it was fine. Like you do a walkthrough on the floor and it seemed fine. When the house was raised, it was like, this house is massive. And we almost didn't realize how big it was until it had been raised. And that's a story that I've heard from a lot of people. They didn't realize how, even though you might see the measurements on the drawing, like this room is, 14 by 14 or whatever it is, right? It doesn't look that big until it's raised off the ground. And then you're like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? Okay, so sometimes another thing to think about is actually, if you need 2 stories, do you need a 2-story house? Like, really, do you really need that? Or are you going to be happy with a 3-bedroom house that's on 1 floor? And maybe do something as a rooftop. If you want a bit of extra space, you can have like a rooftop sitting or whatever. But do you need 2 levels? In the UK, I'm used to 2 levels. I don't think if I was in the UK right now, I would ever buy a bungalow unless maybe I was really old and I didn't want to climb the stairs anymore, perhaps, right? But I just think, do you really need a story building house? Hold on. Okay. Well, all good. I thought the camera had stopped. It hadn't. Like, do you really need a story building house? Because when you when you decide to make the decision to build a story building house, now you're already incurring extra costs. As soon as you say, I'm going to build a story building house, it costs extra, right? Because now you need a deeper foundation to be able to support the house. So those things now you're already pouring into the ground. You haven't even raised it yet. You're already pouring into the ground. You're going to need a much deeper foundation. So these are some of the things that you need to think about. You need to think about cost-wise. Now, I would say when it comes to building, the easiest cost is raising the building, right? The block work. That's not bad. That doesn't cost you too much, because we're talking about, after you've done the foundation, we're talking about the block work, which really only requires like masons, laborers. Like, it's not too much. But when you have to start wiring that house, when you have to start doing the internals in that house, that's when it gets expensive. Me personally, I would say doing the internals of a house, decorating the inside, is way more expensive than doing the outside. That's if you want the kind of house I want. I like nice things, okay? For me personally, I say that I wouldn't say I'm expensive, but I can be a little bit bougie when it comes to certain things. Right now, my house is not how I want. Like, it's not. The only thing to me in my house that's really nice right now is the kitchen. This space that I have where I'm sitting right now is not as it's supposed to be. These sofas that I have right here are not supposed to be here. They're supposed to be upstairs, because this is actually a kitchen area and it's not a kitchen living room space. This is meant to be a whole kitchen. So I'm just living in the house like this at the moment, but actually this is not what I want to do. So the plans I have for this house is going to cost me money. And because I have 2 floors, it's going to cost me double money, because I have to make sure that all the spaces are nice and they all follow through the suit of the house. So Anyway, that's just me talking as someone who loves property and loves interiors and all of that. So I know what I want to do to this house. It's going to cost me. It's going to cost me a bit of money. So I'm preparing myself for that. So although I have 2 levels, I need to be ready for what the financial implications of having 2 levels are going to be. Like, do you really need 2 levels? Like, honestly, do you need 2 levels? Because you're talking about 2 sets of windows now. So I've got all my windows in this level. I have to go and get windows for upstairs too. It's going to cost me. It's going to cost me. I mean, I like 2-level houses, right? I love story houses because I just think they're nice. But I'm just saying, just think about the cost. There's nothing wrong with if you want to build a story building. There's nothing wrong with it, okay? Let me just make that. There's nothing wrong with it. But can you afford it? Sometimes we jump into things and we don't think about it. So we're in the last video, we were talking about the cost of materials going up and things like that. Now you have to be prepared that even after you perhaps decide to do it as I've done and finish one level and live in that one level before starting the next. Now, whatever you estimated for your top is not going to be your cost anymore. It might have doubled or even quadrupled because of the way that the rate is going. So you have to take all those things into account. So I just really want you to be prepared. So when I was talking to my friend about this, and we were both of the realization that actually there are some things that we do in life that we didn't think through well, you know? So although this is a building video, I'm going to just touch on something very quickly, okay? So we were talking about in all aspects of life. And I think one of the things that we need to be more mindful and more purposeful about, I'm struggling with my words today, more purposeful about is planning. We don't plan sometimes, whether it's planning your house or planning how your life is going to be. We don't plan ahead enough, and so therefore we waste a lot of money on our life journey. We waste it doing things that were not necessary. I'm going to bring it back to building because otherwise I'm going to go and start on a whole nother flow, which is not for this channel. Like, just know what you want. So I think before you think about building, think about what it is that you really want and what you actually need, because your needs above wants, right? So what do you actually need? Maybe you can do it like where I'm going to say, like, I'm going to build a bungalow, but I'm going to make my foundation a story building. So maybe in the future, if my children want to live here, they have the capability of building an extension on top of the house years down the line, if that's what they want to do, if that's what your plan is. But you don't have to struggle and do it now, right? Just make a beautiful bungalow, a comfortable bungalow where you're just comfortable and you haven't had to fork out all this money. Let the next generation do it if that's what they want to do and build upon what you've already built, right? There's no need to struggle and sweat and no one's going to be there, because likelihood is if you're like me and you're a parent and you're thinking about doing this for the future of your children, which is great. Just, I'm not saying don't do that. But what I am saying is maybe it's not necessary for you to continue that journey. Maybe it's for you to get them started and they'll continue because, you know, things are going to change. Designs are going to change. There's so many things that are going to change. So for me, I think had I started this house and maybe just done one floor and just done it excellently in the way that I wanted to, maybe my children could have come and done another floor if that's what they wanted to. And maybe they would all want to live here and have separate apartments. I don't know. And maybe, you know, upstairs is going to be like separate apartments for each of them. So they all live in the one place, but they all have their individual apartments, their individual spaces. Do you know what I mean? There's so many things that can change in the future. I just think that we don't need to do too much right now. And I think sometimes when we come from the West, we just do too much. We're doing too much and it's not necessary, you know? So that's what I wanted to leave you with. I just wanted to give you some food, it's tiredness. Please excuse me, it's tiredness, okay? I wanted to get, and I'm speaking way too fast, so I need to slow it down. So I just wanted to give you some food for thought. I think before you start your building process, this is just some of the things that you need to consider because, you know, we don't need to do too extreme. We don't have to prove to everybody that we can build this mansion in Ghana. You don't have to have a mansion. You just need to be comfortable, right? If you want to upgrade your lifestyle from the UK, you can do that. But you don't have to quadruple it. You can just still have nice things, but it doesn't have to be the expense of your whole bank account, you know? Anyway, that is it. I'd love to hear your comments about what I've been talking about. Let me know what you think. Let's discuss. The other video that I did on building was absolutely great. It was lovely to see the engagement and different people's thoughts. You know, it came across in the video that a lot of the things that we're experiencing here in Ghana, we're also experiencing across the world, even in Africa, it's happening to everybody. But it was just interesting to see the comments and see how much it was affecting people. And, you know, hindsight is a great thing. So let's help each other out by discussing these things so that the next person doesn't have to suffer, because I'm a great believer in that. But anyway, I am going to sign out now. So don't forget, you must subscribe, okay? And that is the end of today's video. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, do me a favor, right? Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Don't forget to also like, comment, and share this video. Until next time, I am out. Nutitfafa.